Through the gate's blinding light, three silhouettes emerged: Agera, Esprit, and Zonda. What awaited them was not a battlefield, but an arena of judgment. The marble beneath their feet was cracked and ancient, as if even time had grown tired of mercy here. Every step echoed like a heartbeat in the silence, a silence that would soon be broken by arrogance wearing the face of faith. And then, he appeared. Garcia, fifth-ranked Imperial Guardian, spear in hand, confidence bleeding into the air like poison. He stood there, proud and immaculate, his aura so bright it distorted the air around him. A man who believed his existence alone was divine authority. "Before you die," he thundered, "let me tell you my name. I am Garcia, one of His Majesty's four guardians. Be grateful you face me before you fade from this world." But his declaration fell into emptiness. Agera didn't even blink. His voice came out calm, cold as a winter lake. "We're not interested in your name." It wasn't mockery. It was worse. It was indifference, the kind that cuts deeper than any blade. That's where it began. The breaking of a man whose pride was his armor. Garcia's sneer hardened. His hands tightened around his divine spear, its light swelling like a sun about to erupt. A legend-class weapon, one strike, and even a soul could vanish without trace. The air quaked as his saint-level aura poured into the arena, cracking marble and shaking walls. Every breath from him carried contempt. "You demons talk big, but you're nothing more than worms. We've exorcised your kind for centuries." But here's the thing about hatred. It's not just noise. It was his fuel. His unique skill, subjugation conquest, turned self-righteous fury into raw, living power. The more he spat his venom, the more divine his strength became. He believed his hatred was holy. Yet in front of him stood a man who didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't even draw his blade. Agera's restraint was unbearable to witness. Each swing Garcia unleashed was met not with equal force, but with effortless precision, sidesteps, parries, and deflects so fluid they seemed like choreography. To Garcia, it wasn't combat anymore, it was humiliation. And then Agera spoke. "Calm down, human. A truly dignified soul has no need to boast. Vulgarity stains even your spirit." One sentence, and Garcia's world cracked. The knight's discipline shattered. Pride gave way to rage, and in that moment, Agera had already won half the battle. This was no clash of strength. It was a duel of composure. Behind him, Esprit watched like an amused goddess observing mortals. Her voice was laced with mischief. "He's this skilled and doesn't even use magic? How inefficient." She smiled faintly, but her mind was elsewhere. Through her observer skill, she was transmitting everything to Carrera. Every motion, every word, every subtle frustration, Agera muttered mid-battle. Even the one where he sighed, "Lady Carrera's so short-tempered and simple-minded." She didn't know that this tiny act of mischief would open the gates of hell. Because when Garcia's arrogance turned toward Rimuru's closest allies, when he sneered about that brat with blue hair, that sassy blonde, and the white-haired woman, beautiful but as clueless as a toad in a well, he did more than insult demons. He insulted those whom the Primordials loved. And Esprit's smile died the moment she realized Carrera had heard every word through their shared link. Outside the gate, the vanguard of Tempest fell silent as Carrera's voice drifted through the link, deceptively light. "Ha ha! I just heard a very funny story from Esprit." The words weren't funny. They were death sentences wrapped in laughter. Ultima froze. Testarossa's crimson eyes darkened. Even Benimaru frowned, sensing the storm about to unfold. Carrera recited Garcia's words, her voice trembling not with humor, but wrath barely contained. He called Ultima a little brat, Testarossa a toad at the bottom of a well, and all of us stinking insects. Ultima's lips curved into a smile that wasn't a smile. Testarossa's silence was colder than death, and Carrera laughed, high, melodic, beautiful, and terrifying. The air itself warped around her killing intent. "First it's worms, and now it's insects?" Benimaru muttered. "He's quite the poet." Only Soe remained calm, studying Esprit. "So, you can maintain a link even inside Lady Velgrin's barrier? Interesting skill." Esprit froze, because that tone, quiet and analytical, was more dangerous than anger. She knew what awaited her later wasn't punishment, it was endless assignments. But Carrera didn't care for subtlety. That man said none of us could ever defeat Lady Velgrind, or that Kondo fellow, that we'd be slaughtered like insects. Testarossa's response came like frostbite. You never know the outcome of a battle until it's fought. Carrera's eyes gleamed. Of course not, but strong or not, that human's gone too far. There's no mercy for him. Ultima cracked her knuckles, voice low and trembling with delight. No mercy. Let's see if he can still talk when he's ash. Benimaru's calm was a fragile dam against 3 tidal waves of rage. He could sense it. Their emotions were powerful enough to fracture Velgrin's dimension itself. Even Veyron, their subordinate, prayed silently for the human. Oh, you foolish man, may you alone pay for this madness before the world does. Benimaru acted fast. Carrera, he said, send a message through the link. Tell them, don't let that man speak another offensive word. Carrera smiled. Slow. Dangerous. Understood. She reached out through Esprit's mind, her voice dripping venom. Esprit, can you hear me? Then, cold as a blade drawn in silence, make sure he never speaks again. The order hit like a curse. Inside the gate, Agera's team felt the temperature drop. Every breath of air was suddenly heavier, darker. Somewhere beyond their sight, 3 demons had just given permission for annihilation. Garcia was still laughing, still boasting, still alive, barely. Every word he spoke now was a countdown to his own extinction. Carrera's grin widened. Let him speak one more word. Just one. And he did. You weaklings, your masters have fallen too. Join them in the afterlife. That echo carried through the observer link like the toll of a funeral bell. Carrera's killing intent spiked so violently that even Ultima went quiet. If you're still calm after that, she hissed, you're no demons at all. I hereby give you permission to kill him now. Inside the arena, Agera's blade trembled, not from fear, but from fury. He had held back out of discipline. But now, restraint was no longer loyalty, it was betrayal. He charged. Every movement honed to perfection, yet every strike failed to pierce. Garcia's divine enchantments, alternative and subjugation conquest, made him a fortress. The more hate he felt, the stronger his defenses became. Even Esprit's magic, sharp as it was, only grazed him. Agera gritted his teeth. It seems it is impossible for me to defeat this man by myself. And then he did something unexpected. He looked inward. I will transform my will into a blade with which to strike him down. His body dissolved into light, his essence reshaping into a radiant sword. A soul-forged weapon of pure resolve, blade transform, his ultimate gift. Esprit's hand closed around the hilt. The fusion of 2 wills ignited the air. Her aura shimmered, her eyes sharp as obsidian. I don't know what this is all about, she murmured, but all right, I'm gonna kill that bastard. Then the world slowed. Her figure blurred, motion beyond sight, beauty beyond comprehension. The secret technique of the Oboro Shinmei Ryu, Multilayered Blossom Flash. 8 strikes bloomed like petals in the wind. Garcia never even screamed. His armor split, his body scattered, his pride shattered. 8 perfect cuts, and then silence. His soul condensed into a red crystal, pulsing faintly in Esprit's palm. She studied it, smiling faintly. Red. Fitting for a fool who burned too bright. The arena fell quiet again, the echo of divine arrogance fading into nothing. Agera reformed beside her, serene once more. No warrior will remain silent when his master is insulted, he said softly. Still, I let my temper cloud my duty. Esprit smiled. Even Lady Carrera gave her blessing. You did nothing wrong. But inside Agera's chest, something shifted. A memory flickered, faint but undeniable. The name Byakuya Araki rose from the depths of his soul, a name from before his demonic rebirth. The style he had once mastered, the same that lived on through Hakuro and now through Rimuru himself. For a moment, he felt peace. So, my legacy still endures. And with that thought, the storm passed. Garcia's arrogance, his faith, his divine fury, all erased in a single moment of poetic justice. The gate's storm quieted, the air grew still, and Agera, demon of discipline and reborn samurai, walked back toward his comrades, his blade not drawn from anger anymore, but devotion, his loyalty sharper than steel, his will now the edge that defends tempest. Because on that day, a single man's arrogance called upon the wrath of gods, and the gods answered. The battlefield returned to silence, but the lesson it whispered would echo far longer than any scream, that the loudest voice in a war is often the first one to die.